back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
And it's your boy Big Full Time. You know what the fuck's going on. It is time to break down this weekend's fights. There is no UFC this weekend, but there is a great Bellator card. We're going to be having the Bellator Heavyweight World Grand Prix going down, and the winner of this fight will be crowned as Bellator's heavyweight champion. Ryan Bader and Fedor Emelianenko have advanced to the finals, and the winner of this fight, as I said, will be crowned the champ. Ryan Bader is already Bellator's lightweight champion. Fedor, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Both of these guys throwing down in the finals of this Grand Prix. Looking forward to that one, but we're going to break that down last. Right now, we're just going to look at this card. Aaron Pico versus Henry Corrales. Aaron Pico on a quest to become the UFC and Bellator's youngest world champion. That would be extremely impressive. Right now, who holds the record is John Jones in the UFC, but Aaron Pico is, I think it's even more than arguably. I would argue Aaron Pico is the greatest MMA prospect of all time. His background in wrestling, boxing, and pancration is unmatched of any MMA prospect. He's won championships, national championships in each of those, in Greco-Roman wrestling, freestyle, like multiple styles of wrestling, pancration, Golden Gloves boxing. This kid is the real deal. We saw that in his last fight with Leandro Higo Pitbull. That was a great fight. First round finish from Aaron Pico, and if he can win this fight, he could very well find himself in a title fight. We'll get to that fight coming up. We've got the debut of Jake Hager in Bellator, his MMA debut. Jack Swagger from the WWE, also known as Jake Hager. He's got another name in Lucha Libre. I forget that. I'll remember in a second. He's going against JW Kisser, who is 1-1 as a pro, but he's actually got 20 fucking amateur fights, this guy. I mean, damn, this is going to be a tough fight for a guy making his MMA debut. Jake Hager, Jack Swagger, he's got wrestling and collegiate. He's got wrestling in high school and college. He was actually, I believe, a high-level wrestler in college. I've got it in the notes when we get to breaking down the fight. So maybe he can rely on his wrestling background if he's still, depending on how long he's been training for this fight, because hopefully he's took a serious amount of time away from the WWE before taking this fight, and I think he has. I think he's, kind of took the Kayla Harrison approach, I believe. I would hope so, where you train for at least a full year before just jumping into the octagon. So with that being said, we'll see how that heavyweight fight plays out. But the first fight we're going to break down is this one right here. We got Juan Archuleta versus Ricky Bandejas going down. Juan Archuleta is 20-1 as a pro. You can see here he's going to be taking on Ricky Bandejas at 135 pounds. Ricky Bandejas, if you actually recall, he's the guy that knocked out James Gallagher in the first round. James Gallagher was talking all that shit, and it went viral. People who probably are a little less educated about the sport didn't know who James Gallagher was by name. So like the video was called Fake Conor McGregor Gets Knocked Out, cocky, whatever. But that's actually one of Conor McGregor's teammates. He's not just some fucking wannabe out here. He's actually one of his teammates, and he's actually a good fighter. But so is Ricky Bandejas. And that's why in this fight right here, you see the records, and you might automatically lean toward Juan Archuleta. And Juan Archuleta's a really good fighter. He's 3-0 in Bellator. He's coming off a unanimous decision win over Jeremy Spoon a couple months ago. But I'm actually going to be in this fight. I'm going to be picking Ricky Bandejas to get the W. Ricky Bandejas, man, he's coming off a first-round KO over James Gallagher in his Bellator debut. But he has a little less pro experience, but he's been fighting, I feel like, against higher level competition throughout his pro career. And he also went 7-1 as an amateur. So those fights are not on his record, or his record would actually be 18-2. Of course, those fights weren't on his pro record though. But since he's became a pro, he's been fighting tough fighters. I think he even fought Shane Burgos as an amateur, so he wasn't fighting, any cans down there by any means, So Ricky Bandejas is a great fighter. We've seen him knock out James Gallagher, and I think he's going to have a good opportunity to come in here and beat one Archuleta, who's 20-1. So he's very experienced. He's a very tough fighter. But the guys that he's fought, I just feel like, as I said, Ricky Bandejas has a little been fighting a little tougher competition. So I'm going Ricky Bandejas, but this is almost a toss-up for me. Moving on to the next fight, we're going to break down Jake Hager versus JW Kisser. Like I said, I got no clue what's going to happen in this fight. Jake Hager, formerly known as Jack Swagger, also known as Jake Strong. That's his Lucha Libre name, Jake Strong. He'll be making his MMA debut against JW Kisser. As I said, he's 1-1 as a pro, and that's on Tapology. On this website, it says 0-1. I see that. But he also had 20 amateur fights. That's 22 fights. Real fights. And those 22 fights, I feel like, should be more than enough to beat a WWE guy with no fight experience. But Jack Swagger, he did wrestle at an All-American level in college, so he might fuck around and get the W. I'm going to take Jake Hager. I mean, I'm not confident by any means. JW Kisser has 22 actual fights against a guy that's making his debut. So I'm not confident by any means, but I'm just going to take the WWE guy. He does have a wrestling background, sort of like Brock Lesnar. I have heard people call Jake Hager Bellator's Brock Lesnar, so we'll see how that plays out. But I'm going with Jake Hager in this fight. Not much to break down there. Heavyweight fight, so don't blink. You know how that goes. Be looking forward to it. But after that, we got the co-main event between Aaron Pico and Henry Corrales. I gave you guys Aaron Pico some of his credentials. One of the best MMA prospects of all time. He's got background as a Golden Gloves boxer. He's won the national championship in folk style, freestyle, and Greco-Roman wrestling. Currently trains with some of the best fighters, i.e. TJ Dillashaw, and one of the best fight teams in the world. Aaron Pico only has 5 pro fights, but he's already fighting some of the best fighters in the world under Bellator's roster, such as 18-4 Leandro Pitbull Higo, who he fought in his last fight, knocked him out in the first round. Now he's fighting 16-3 Henry Corrales, en route to becoming the youngest world champion in Bellator history. Henry Corrales is currently riding a 4-fight winning streak, but I'm going to be taking the young prodigy Aaron Pico to win this fight. Just a tremendous fighter, tremendous skills. Just don't let the record fool you with this guy. You know, I mean, I talk about all the time in my Kayla Harrison spiels about the level of competition. A lot of people, when they start fighting, their first fight isn't against somebody with 10 pro fights. Their first fight isn't against somebody with 7 pro fights. When people usually start fighting, they start out fighting against people that are also new to the sport. 0-0 versus 0-0. Aaron Pico fought a guy that was 8-2 in his first fight. He slipped up. It was also in Madison Square Garden. That's why he's got a loss on his record. But after that, he's been still fighting high-level competition and beating guys like Leandro Pitbull Higo and others. So Aaron Pico is the real deal, regardless of that one on his record. That's what happens when you fight killers your entire career. Nobody's done that. None of the greatest fighters of all time. If you look at Kayla Harrison or Aaron Pico's record, what they're doing is unprecedented. It doesn't matter who your favorite fighter is, who your GOAT is. None of them did what these new age fighters are doing. It doesn't matter if you're talking about John Jones, Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, Chris Cyborg, Amanda. It doesn't matter who you're talking about, any of the greats. None of them were fighting fighters that had 10 pro fights in their debuts. And that's what these new best prospects are doing. The ones that I feel like are going to be future greats, future GOATs, like Aaron Pico, like Kayla Harrison. So I'm going with Aaron Pico. Looking forward to that fight. Can't miss it. It's like watching history, honestly, when you watch Aaron Pico or Kayla Harrison fight. So that's why you can't miss this co-main event. Can't wait. And if he wins this fight, he will be in line for a title shot. So it's going to be a really important fight for Aaron Pico to get the W. Moving on to the main event, we've got the heavyweight World Grand Prix finals. Fedor Emelianenko versus Ryan Bader. Man, I don't even know if I'll be able to find this on YouTube. I made the video so long ago because it's when the Grand Prix started. The first round. I'm talking, what was it? Bader versus Mitrione, or like seriously, like no, Bader versus King Mo. There was 8 fights, right? Winners moved on, and there were 4 fights left. Winners moved on, and now we're in the finals. So, I mean, some of you might know what NCAA March Madness is. That's why I'm picking Ryan Bader in this fight, because I started out with the bracket prediction, and I'm going to try and find it by the time this video is over. I'll do it at the end, though, so it doesn't take up too much of the time. I'm picking Ryan Bader to win this fight. I'll break it down, but I at the beginning of this Grand Prix, I did the bracket predictions, sort of like the NCAA, March Madness basketball brackets. I did one for this heavyweight Grand Prix, and it came all the way true to this point as far as my predictions, as far as my bracket predictions. I've got them all right all the way up until here, and in those brackets, I think it was probably over a year ago by this point, I had Ryan Bader beating Fedor in the final, so I'm just hoping that happens, just because I think that would be pretty cool. But as far as the fight is concerned, let's break it down. I'm taking Bader. Like I said, I don't have to break it down too much, but with that being said, I think Fedor, his best chance of winning this fight is going to be knocking Bader out. That's really the only way I see him beating Ryan Bader, who's one of the best fighters in the world. Now he's a 2-division he has a possibility of becoming Bellator's first 2-division champion. He's fighting at 2 divisions now. He was one of the greatest at light heavyweight. When he left the UFC, he was 7-1 in his last 8 UFC fights. He's now 4-0 in Bellator. He had 2 wins over Phil Davis and Linton Vassell to become Bellator's light heavyweight champion. Now he's 2-0 in the heavyweight Grand Prix with wins over King Mo and Matt Mitrione. If he can beat one of the greatest fighters of all time, Fedor, he'll become Bellator's new heavyweight champion and first double champ. So there's a lot at stake here for Ryan Bader. He would kind of be like Bellator's DC. He would also, you would have to talk about him in the conversation as one of the greatest fighters, I feel like. He's been beating tough fighters. He's fighting at 2 divisions. And if he can beat a guy that has been known as one of the greatest fighters of all time, Fedor, I think that actually puts Ryan Bader in the conversation. Would he get my vote for the greatest fighter of all time? No, but this win, I think, really puts Ryan Bader in that conversation. You have to give him slight consideration. So, with that being said, I'm really interested in this fight as well. It's going to be a great Bellator card tomorrow. We're definitely going to be doing a live fight companion for that, for the main card. So, make sure you guys tune into the channel for that tomorrow. And with that being said, that's it. We're going to try and see if I can find on YouTube like my Bellator bracket predictions, but with the new YouTube algorithms and the chat, whatever happened to our channel, I don't think that's actually going to pop up. Let's look for it. Bellator heavyweight Grand Prix bracket predictions, full-time MMA. I'm trying to make it thorough. Oh, it's here, son! It was before we got shadow banned, so it actually got like fucking 30,000 views. And look, guys, look at the likes and dislikes on this. 82 likes to 53 dislikes. And now let's just check it out. You see where we're at? I had Bader beating King Mo. I had Mitrione beating Nelson. I had Bader beating Mitrione after King Mo. And now I had Bader in the finals against Fedor. I had Fedor beating Frank Mir. I had Sonnen beating Rampage. Literally, we're 1 fight away here, full-time family. If Bader wins this was published in 2017. November 4th, 2017. That was over a year ago. Tomorrow, our bracket predictions can come true. Tomorrow, we see if full-time is all talk. No, I'm just kidding, because we know that's not the case. But yo, legit, salute to the full-time family. Let me know if you remember this in the comments. I know very few of you probably do. It was over a year ago, but tomorrow it all comes to a head. Let's see if Mystic Full-Time can hit him once again. And with that being said, it is what it is, man. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm about to do the full-time fake money bankroll, so make sure you check that out over at the Full-Time MMA Dojo on the Patreon. Link is in the description if you're interested in that. I'm out. See you guys tomorrow at the Fight Companion.
Bye, Felicia.